Good evening and welcome to BronxTalk. Tonight, it's the debate for the Democratic primary in the 82nd Assembly District. That's the district that includes the Bronx neighborhoods of Co-op City, Throgs Neck, Westchester Square, City Island, Country Club, and Pelham Bay. Tonight's program is presented in partnership with the League of Women Voters of the City of New York, a nonpartisan political organization that advocates for informed and active participation in government and works to increase understanding of major public policy issues. Primary day is Tuesday, June 25th. The deadline to submit an application for voter registration is Saturday, June 15th. That has already passed. And the early voting period is Saturday, June 15th, which means it's going on right now, through Sunday, June 23rd. For more information, including deadlines for absentee ballots, visit vote.nyc. Now, folks, let's meet the candidates. There are two candidates on the ballot. The incumbent Assembly member is Michael Benedetto, who is the chair of the Assembly's Committee on Education. Nice to see you, Mr. Benedetto. Thanks for joining us this evening. And the challenger is Jonathan Soto, the former borough director of the Bronx Long-Term Recovery Group. He was the first director for the New York City Center for Faith and Community Partnerships and a former organizer for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Mr. Soto, nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
Candidates in tonight's debate, I will direct a question to one candidate. That candidate will have 90 seconds to respond. And then the opposing candidate will also have 90 seconds to respond. The moderator, that's me, reserves the right to ask follow-up questions to allow for rebuttals and dialogue. Please note that after the initial answers from each candidate, no statement can be longer than 30 seconds. Also, please note there will be no opening statements, but at the end of the program, each candidate will have 1 minute to offer a concluding comment. One final note before we begin, the questions on tonight's program include those submitted by the candidates themselves. And so, Mr. Soto, good evening. Nice to have you with us. You'll get the first question.
Thank you.
By a straw vote that we did earlier today. Mr. Soto, as you both will certainly recall, almost 2 years to the day, you faced off in another debate on this program for the same seat. Mr. Benedetto eventually won the primary with 56% in a three-way race. So, Mr. Soto, 2 years later, why should the results be different from what they were? Have things changed? You got 2 years to sort it out and come back. What are your thoughts?
Well, thank you so very much, Gary, for that question. And thank you, Mr. Benedetto, Assembly member, for being here. And to the audience, I'm running again because we need to address the crises that we're facing in our communities. Whether it's the crisis of education that I, as a public school parent, am facing when my daughter's schools are defunded, literacy rates are dropping, and special education services are not being met. Whether it is the crisis of our climate. We live in a coastal community, and we've seen the threats being able to be present in our neighborhoods, or the 8.1% carrying charge that Co-op City residents are facing. We need to tell the truth about these specific issues. And I'm running again because if at first you don't succeed, you need to keep trying, number one. Number two, my daughter and my community and my family and my neighbors' well-being is on the line. We need to make sure that our quality of life is meeting the demands of the moment. Whether we've seen the crises of affordability impacting us in healthcare, when it comes to fully public schools, these are the things that I'm fighting for you and for all our neighbors here in the district. This time, throughout my time, I passed my bar exam. I've been working with communities and with parents seeking special education services. I also have been working diligently to ensure that our city and our state are able to be fully funded schools, passing the Build Public Renewables Act, which is a huge climate win. Those are things that we've been advocating for, and I'm excited to make the case to you, the voter, that we have leadership that we need to change, and I'm excited to get that going.
Thank you. Mr. Benedetto, I guess a kind of a reverse question for you. Why do you expect the results to be similar to what they were 2 years ago?
Well, I certainly hope that they're going to be similar and better. In my case, for the results coming in, that I expect to have a win and hopefully a larger win. And the reason is simple. I think I have been serving my community well over the years. I have been there to talk to the people in my district. I have visited the houses on a regular basis in Co-op City. I do my lobby visits, and I've been doing that since I was elected. I dislike politicians who years and for years been in office, and the only time you would see them was just before elections. And I always promised my constituents that that would not be said of me. And that is why I have always been out there attending community meetings, going to the lobbies in the apartment buildings in my district, talking to people to find out what is on their mind and how I can help them. I've done that for all the years I've been in office. I will continue to do that and stay in touch with the people who are, in effect, hiring me to be their representative for the next 2 years.
Thank you very much. Mr. Benedetto, you get this question. It comes really right out of Albany. In this year's, let's talk about housing. In this year's budget, advocates expressed concern that good cause eviction was watered down with exemptions, including luxury buildings and landlords with 10 units or fewer, which is really the higher income and the lower income people. Housing Justice for All, a tenants' rights group, estimated that the governor's version of good cause excluded at least 2.8 million tenants. If you are elected in Albany again in the next legislative session, as regards good cause eviction and housing, what is your point of view?
The governor's had proposed in the budget and changed the idea of good cause evictions, maybe for good reason. Maybe the reason why she wanted to change, it was not a fair way to look at good cause evictions. That may be a compromise is needed. And that's been a hallmark, I believe, of my tenure in the state assembly, that I look at both sides of an issue. I don't get threatened by one side. I don't let them get in my face and say, you've got to pass this bill. Maybe that bill has some adequate things to it. And that's why we passed in 2019 some of the best tenant safeguards that this state has ever seen. And that's why we've changed that this year and passed some more. But listen, you also have to look upon the other side of the equation. You look at the people who have, and we've all heard these horror stories of had tenants in their apartment, in their building, and they haven't paid rent in 2 years. You know, there are two faces to this argument. They both have very good points, and you got to be balanced in your approach and what you do. And that's what the governor did, and that's why I supported her.
Thank you very much, Mr. Soto.
I believe that the current legislation that was passed didn't go far enough to deal with the real crisis of affordability that families are facing. The reason why so many families were 2 years behind on their rents is because the catastrophe of the pandemic really impacted so many working New Yorkers. Tenant protections are exceedingly important, and we need to develop housing at the same time. The crisis of affordability, as we see in the Bronx, is visiting so many people. I do believe that there was a watering down of the 2019 tenant protections, any vacancy decontrol that was threatened to take away. And we also saw that advocates are asking for more because we need more protections for tenants. Now, we don't only think about tenant protections, we think about development of affordable housing as well, because there are two prongs to this issue. I am for supporting affordable housing developments in our district. We do need to have housing that is built, that is truly affordable housing, so that we can welcome our neighbors throughout the entire city to come to the beautiful community that we have here in the East Bronx. When it comes to advocating for tenants' rights, I am going to be steadfast, taking my negotiation skills and advocating for what is right. We do need balance, and the balance has been tilted to developers, corporate landlords, and private interests for too long. So I am taking, as a homeowner, a pro-tenant approach, because I know that what's good for tenants is also good for me as a homeowner, and we need tenant protections and we need to expand them, and I will fight for that in the next session if you elect me.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, if either of you have a rebuttal afterwards, I'm just going to move on, but if you just raise your hand or indicate to me you want to go further, we can certainly do that. Mr. Soto, we're up to you. Let's talk about crime and policing. You claimed in a tweet the nature of policing in the 82nd AD is structural racism. And in our last debate, you said that the funding priorities are wrong. You would prefer putting resources into prevention programs rather than funding the NYPD. Has anything changed in the 2 years that alters that view, or is this still an important concept for you?
When it comes to racial justice, it's important to speak the truth. And when I talk about the deep systemic injustices that people have faced at the hand of exceeding or forceful law enforcement, that's a truth that no one can deny. Now, I'm very clear that as a homeowner and also as a public school parent of a 13-year-old, I'm very concerned about crime. And what we've seen is that the only things that are getting defunded in our communities are crime prevention resources. Crime reaction is very well funded. The NYPD budgets have been skyrocketing, and we've seen major categories of crime decrease, yet there is a political movement to push for more police funding. My approach is that we need to now focus on crime prevention, which is investment in our mental health services, which is investment in housing, which is investment in after-school activities for our teens and young people. I don't believe, especially with my background in faith and as a public school parent and a homeowner, that we will be able to incarcerate, police, and over-criminalize people in order to receive safety. It is possible to have safety and also have racial justice at the same time. I know that it may cost me some support to say the truth, but we're here to tell the truth. And the truth is that we need to invest in crime prevention. And that looks like fully funded schools, truly affordable housing, mental health resources for all. And someone who worked very closely with police officers throughout my entire career, I'm happy to work, and a critique is not an attack, and I'm happy to work with anybody.
Mr. Benedetto, crime and policing, and your thoughts?
Well, I certainly don't think that defunding the police is an answer. In our society, we need to feel secure in our society. And that goes hand in hand with a well-funded police force, to making sure they're out there and protecting the people. And that's why I made sure that I put money out there for cameras in Throgs Neck, cameras out there to survey the areas in Co-op City, survey the areas along the 6 train towards from Westchester Square to Pelham Bay. It's good that you know those cameras are there and watching over the area that maybe it will prevent some crime and catch some criminals, as did the cameras in Throgs Neck just recently. The police were able to look at those cameras and be able to track down the assault on a lady who lived in Throgs Neck. You know, crime might be down, but the perception of crime is not down. And we've got to make sure that perception stays there and our people feel safe in their homes, feel safe with their children.
Thank you. Did you want to add something? 30 seconds. Sir.
Sure. Just briefly, the only things that have been defunded are crime prevention services. Crime reaction has been fully funded. And it's very important to state clearly the truth about why people have a sense of fear, a perception that's been generated by the word defund, which the only reality that we've seen that's been defunded are our schools, our mental health services. And that's why I'm the public safety candidate, and I'm going to make sure that the things that keep us safe are truly funded.
Thank you. Mr. Benedetto, the plans for 4 new Metro North stations are coming together, as you well know, featuring stations in Cobb City and Morris Park. Along with the new transportation options are plans for development around those stations and in those neighborhoods. Many residents have expressed concern that development will negatively change the character of their neighborhoods. How do you view not only the new transportation options, which I assume you think are an advancement, but with the development that is going to come with it?
Well, yes, I do think the building of 4 Metro North stations is a great thing. As a matter of fact, I have been advocating that for years and was assigned as to be the chief advocate for the Assembly delegation by Assemblyman Marcos Crespo years ago. And I talked to the governor, Governor Cuomo back then, and told him the importance of this endeavor. And that is when he switched his opinion and backed those 4 stations. So they're coming. The development, I think, is going to be a great thing. We need development, and we need development specifically around mass transit options that are coming. And so the area around, let's say, Einstein Hospital and Jacobi Hospital, where there is room for them, there is a need, because that's where one of the stations are going to be. So you put the high rises there, you put development there, and you do it smartly, and so that it does not impact too much on the neighborhoods, but at the same time, it houses people, and more importantly, it also takes care of their transportation needs. In this case, both up north and to the city.
Mr. Soto?
Development is critically important for our neighborhood, especially when it comes to providing transportation options that we so desperately need. We know we live in a transit desert, and this is concerning for people who are elderly, people who are disabled, people who are working and want to have access to mass transit. The thing about development, though, is that if you take and just vote and support development, but don't take an active approach towards monitoring and ensuring that the development specifics are met, we could have negative externalities. We could have development serve as a Trojan horse for gentrification. I've been speaking with residents throughout the district, but more specifically, the Metro North being developed right next to Section 5 in Co-op City. There's a lot of concerns that this development may serve as a Trojan horse for gentrification, and that there may be negative externalities like increased traffic, less pedestrian safety, more pollution that may come afoot, which is why I think it's good, and I applaud Mr. Benedetto for supporting this development. We just need to make sure also that we have an active approach to ensuring that the negative externalities don't affect our families, and that we don't allow this to be a Trojan horse for gentrification. We cannot allow our public assets and public goods be given to corporate interests at the expense of working families bearing the brunt of these negative externalities. So development good needs to be measured, and we need to speak the truth about the risks.
I want to just ask a follow-up. We'll give you each 30 seconds. Literally today, on Monday the 17th, there's a hearing on the mayor's city of Yes. Mr. Benedetto, what do you think of the mayor's proposal for the city of Yes? You like
I think the mayor's proposal has some excellent points to it. We need to encourage development where there is no development, but at the same time, we got to take a look at the city of Yes and maybe make some modifications to it. Okay, there are areas that are really against all this and for specific reasons.
You want to just name one, that is of a concern to you?
Well, one of the concerns is possible commercial development in areas that are not commercial districts, okay? And that should be looked at very, very closely to make sure it doesn't change the complexion of that district.
Got it. Mr. Soto, your thoughts?
Sure. While it's a city issue and at the state level, I wouldn't be involved in approving it.
Well,
I will have oversight.
Certainly, I think it's important to hear what you think
Absolutely.
of it, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important, though, as an assembly member, to not only exercise or oversight, ensuring that the community's voice is represented in the development process itself. I've heard from many people who understand the need for developing more housing and developing more commercial, but we also are fearful of the negative effects that could happen in our neighborhoods. We need to make sure any revenue that's generated from this development goes to support our crumbling infrastructure in schools. It goes to support our transportation needs and making sure that we're investing in truly affordable housing. So it's not just the development, the revenues that come in, we need to go to the public goods that makes our community's quality of life great, makes our public schools fully funded, and we need to move forward smartly with this development question.
Thank you very much. Mr. Soto, this one for you. Bally's has taken over the former Trump links at Ferry Point Park, as you know. They are angling to open a casino on that spot. In Queens, very recently, State Senator Jessica Ramos came out against a proposal to alienate parkland around Citi Field for a casino. Do you support having a gambling casino at Ferry Point Park?
I am 100% against the casino development because we cannot be giving our public goods, our lands, for corporate interests to bring in what could be increased pollution, unruly development, and as noted, casinos bring crime to their neighborhood. I believe that we could look at that specific park, that specific parkland development, and think of several different uses. It could remain parkland. It could be, as Councilwoman Christy Mamorato said in your debate last time, a place for businesses to have on a boardwalk, or there could be affordable housing developed in that area. However, when it comes to a casino, I am a clear no on a casino. I don't want a casino next to my daughter's public school. I think that I appreciate Bally's for making the effort, but for me, it's going to be a no. And I'm going to make sure that I organize with the community to say no to the casino, because the development that we need is not one that is a handout to corporate interests. And this process, we could do it with the community. So having an advisory board of community members thinking about what could be potential uses for that grand park space, which I live right next to. So I'm a no on the casino, but I am a yes for innovative thinking that protects our parks, that builds more affordable housing, and that develops small businesses in that area.
Thank you. Mr. Benedetto, your thoughts on the potential for a casino over there and where I almost said Trump links, it's Bally links.
Well, first of all, aren't we glad that it is no longer Trump links and it's now Bally's links? And to date, Bally's has done a very nice job of managing that course. Listen, I'm still listening to the people and what their opinions are on having a casino at that spot. There are many people who are for it, many who are against it for varying reasons. I'm listening to both of them. I'm not 100% sure that I want to say no to a development that will give jobs to thousands of people in the Bronx, okay? Give them an opportunity to reach the middle class, own their own home. Well-paying jobs are out there if this casino goes through, both in the development of the casino and while working in the casino later on, okay? But I'm not 100% committed to it yet. I just want to listen a bit more. I have concerns, traffic concerns, other concerns that might be out there, okay? And certainly I would have concerns about any new housing development going on that property. It's his parkland, and I don't want to use parkland that's intended for recreation to something else.
Okay, we're going to have to be quick because we are running out of time. So go ahead, Mr. Soto wants to say something.
I agree entirely with Mr. Benedetto that we need to have a plan to create good paying jobs to make sure that we have revenue coming into the district, and we don't need a casino for that. We could do it in alternate ways, and that's the type of leadership I want to bring to the community, to think about ways to develop these resources without having to put a casino. I'm a no on the casino.
Thank you. Mr. Soto, it's time now for our closing statements. And for you, sir, you have 60 seconds to present.
So thank you so very much, Gary. Thank you, Mr. Benedetto, for this spirited debate. And I grew up moving from Puerto Rico to New York with my family. My parents worked 3 to 4 jobs to make ends meet. And their sacrifice inspired me to lead by listening, as they were also ministers in the church. I believe that with my background, with my preparation in law and urban planning, as a borough director for the Bronx Long-Term Recovery Group, we were able to respond to crisis of emergency. As a Center for Faith and Community Partnerships mayoral appointee, we worked with faith communities to address the issues that are affecting our neighborhoods and providing thousands of hours of free tutoring to kids as a member of AOC's team. Now we need to organize ourselves, because if we don't have a plan to organize ourselves, the chaos and the crises that are coming will organize for us. Now is our shot on June 25th to lead the way, and I'm running to make sure that the Bronx and our neighborhoods are able to live quality of life and live fairly throughout the borough.
Mr. Benedetto, you get the final word of the whole program.
Okay. First off, thank you very much for having this. Listen, basically, I've lived my whole life in this area. I was educated here. I grew up here. I married and moved here. I raised my children here. Okay, and now my child is being raised in this community. It's a community I love. It's a community I loved and I worked for. Before I was elected to the State Assembly, I made sure I showed my commitment to this area. I served on the parish council, for instance. I served on Community Board 10. I put before my constituents now, the electorate then, a resume that said, elect me because here's what I have been doing and what I continue to do. I believe I've lived up to that commitment, and I will continue to live up to that commitment, and I hope they vote for me.
Thank you very much. Jonathan Soto, Michael Benedetto, we appreciate your time. I know while you might not agree on everything, I know you will agree with me that every eligible voter should come out and vote in the primary on the 25th. The voting information, for more information, you can get to vote.nyc. And also we want to thank our partners, the League of Women Voters of the City of New York. For more information, please call the League at 212-725-3541. Please make sure to vote on June 25th. Next week, something totally different. We'll talk about cuts to arts funding. We'll see you then. Good night. Thanks again, candidates.